Use some exercises that we like to use before a run. The worst thing a runner can do is to just wake up, put their shoes on, and go for a run without warming up properly. And we don't like to use static stretching, as that has a tendency to create damage to the muscle. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you 5 different exercises that we can do to warm up the muscles, to get the blood flowing through the body, and most importantly is to prime the nervous system, get the brain functioning to the body to create proper form during running and to prevent injury, most importantly. Our first exercise is the standing cross crawl. The standing cross crawl is a very easy exercise, which is the reason why it's the first. And it's designed just to reinforce the movement pattern of running, and that is a cross crawl activity. So what we do is we put our hands out about hip level, and what we're going to simply do is bring our opposite knee to opposite hand. So in this case, my right knee to my left hand. And just a nice kind of easy, slow movement to begin with. This gets the blood flowing, but again, it actually activates the brain with a kinesthetic touch of the knee to the hands. So just simply do this for about 30 seconds. As the hips get looser, you can come higher. Bring the hands up to about chest level, or maybe eventually bring it all the way to the elbows. That's good. Our second exercise is a supported squat. The supported squat uses the use of a pole or a tree or a signpost as a means of developing a very nice deep stretch on the posterior hip capsule. The posterior hip capsule becomes very tight in a lot of people who sit a lot during the week, like your typical desk jockey. So what we're going to do is we're going to stand really close to a pole, feet are about shoulder width apart or a little bit wider, put our hands right about our waist level or even just a little bit lower than that, and from here we're going to drop back into a deep squat. We're going to repeat this several times, each time getting the hips to about 90 or a little bit below, and just keeping a nice squat form. If you're a little tight to the groin, you could even do a little side-to-side movement to get a little bit of the groin stretched out. This is a very, again, good dynamic stretch for the hip capsule, posterior hamstring, and the groin. Our third exercise is called a hip opener. Now this exercise is designed to produce rotation at the hip. Again, something that often most people are very tight and have a restricted movement at. At the same time, it's also going to move the ankle and the foot into pronation and supination. So anybody who has like an Achilles issue or plantar fasciitis, this is a really great exercise pre-run to warm up those muscles. All we're going to do again is use a goalpost or a tree or a sign. We're going to stand on one foot and we're going to use the opposite foot as a swinging movement. Just simply developing good hip swing. We're using the momentum of the swing leg to produce rotation at the hip and the foot. Again, just a half dozen or a dozen swings. Switch legs, go to the other one. You can do it for 30 seconds, or just at least until you feel like you no longer are tight through the hips and through the ankle. That's good. Fourth exercise is called the founder. The founder is designed to work on upper T-spine extension. Often a lot of runners deal with posture problems when they're running. And again, that comes from either tight shoulders, where the shoulders are rounded as they're running, or sometimes runners do the opposite. They actually try to run back and run very rigid through their upper T-spine, both of which are going to create performance problems and can overload the back or the knees. So this founder is a really nice way of developing good upper thoracic spine extension without creating too much problems. So here's what it looks like. We're simply going to take our feet about hip width apart. We're going to drop through the glutes just slightly and have a little bit of lean forward, just like you would throughout a run. From here, we're going to take our arms, we're going to bring them up over our head and really try to extend through the thoracic spine. Really try to take your head as tall as you possibly can. And in this position, we're simply going to hold. We're going to hold this for about 30 seconds, pushing our hands right towards the ceiling, towards the sky. And where you should feel this is right through your upper hamstring and a little bit through your lower back, but working on keeping really tall through your thoracic spine. So again, it looks just simply like this. Drop through the hips. Weight is in our heels, not our toes. Bring our hands up over our heads. Spread your fingertips and push them through the sky. And we're going to hold that for about 25 to 30 seconds. After which we're going to drop the hands back. Try to let the shoulder blades kind of come together in a bit of a pinch. Again, hold that position for about 25 or 30 seconds. Take a couple deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth during this exercise. Again, this helps to really prime the nervous system, telling the brain how we want to use our upper thoracic spine during our running. Our last exercise puts a lot of these things together. It's called a clock lunge. Now we use a clock as an example in this, and that instead of just doing 12 o'clock lunges as we simply go straight forward as we would in running, we're actually going to go at different angles or different positions on the clock. And what this creates is a nice dynamic stretch through the hip flexor, through the groin, through the hamstrings, all of which is a way of priming those muscles for the run as we're ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to simply start at lunging towards 2 o'clock. If I'm going to lunge to 2 o'clock, I'm going to use my right foot and we're going to lunge out to 2 o'clock. Now if you notice in this, my back foot is going to stay facing 12 o'clock. I'm going to lunge out to 2. My hips, my shoulders are looking towards 2 o'clock as I come back. We'll do it to 10 o'clock this time. 10 o'clock out this direction and back. So again, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 2, and again back to 10. Now to work this a little bit more, we're going to do 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock, but this one's a little bit different. This time as we go to 4 o'clock, we're actually going to turn and move towards 4 o'clock. Again, progressively opening up the hips, the groin, adductors, everything involved that sometimes creates a lot of lateral hip and also medial knee. All right, now let's put those lunges all together in a nice little lunge matrix that we call it. So we're going to start, we're going to go out to 2 o'clock, then go back to 10, to 4, and now to 8. As we warm up, as we get looser, now we can make the clock larger. Again, trying to really work on dynamic stretching these hip muscles. So again, way out now to 2, to 10, 4, and 8. So now we're ready to go for our run. If you still feel tight as you go through the first little bit of your run, stop and run back through these exercises another time. Totally, those exercises should take no more than about 3 to 5 minutes. But it's really important to do that as opposed to just going out and running. Just going out and running on cold muscles is a great way to cause scar tissue, which creates further damage and eventually leads to injury. So make sure you warm up prior to your run and have a good one.